Alright, kind of response to the part 2 of the How the World Works deconstruction of a simple greenish kind of video made by some woman that's apparently been broadcast in some school somewhere to little kids. Which I don't know if that's entirely true. I mean, I don't know if they should be talking about breast milk and shit like that and 9-year-olds, but whatever. We know school's silly either way. Whatever they teach in school, it's going to be silly. Anything that's outside of the, you know, arithmetic and spelling and grammar and that kind of crap. But anyway, we won't even get into all that shit. What's broken in the education system is a topic all to itself. But anyway, so your gripe is that people are, you know, these tree hugger types or these humanitarians, let's call them, are griping because we have a lot of waste in our economy. You know, I mean, we could come up with all kinds of schemes. I mean, I just bought a new printer for like $50. We know the game of the printer companies is they're selling ink, you know, so they give you printers for free. And, you know, you use them up and then the cartridges cost you money. Just say, yeah, hell with that. Just throw the printer away and buy a new one, you know. And there's a lot of that kind of waste in our society, and we got to fess up to that. And we're incredibly sloppy into how we dispose of this stuff. We don't provide enough of a subsidy for recycling, and you know, the price we pay for it is we end up with a bunch of heavy metals where they shouldn't be, and then we end up with big messes to clean up later, which this state has a big pile of. But it's just bullshit. I think there's some kind of argument that capitalism isn't going to take shortcuts. If you don't regulate them out of that tendency, they will. They'll take shortcuts. They'll do things for the short run, not the long run. We see it in the stock market now. A lot of short-term gains, selling mortgages that have no sustainable, hopeful future. But you can make money off them in the short term. And so that's what people did. And we see it with, you know, basically his argument is well, it's no harm, no foul. It's, you know, as long as we're exploiting somebody else's kids, it's all okay somehow. And then he brought up some stupid example of, you know, how if you deny us our cheap products, you know, we don't spend our money buying the exploitation products of the world, that we're somehow depriving people of their income and their livelihood and their jobs and all this other crap. No, the money will be spent one way or the other. It'll go into the economy one way or another. And the point is there's good spending and there's bad spending. There's behavior that should be rewarded and behavior that shouldn't be. And it all depends on how civilized you are in your attitude towards what work is. And obviously this guy isn't very civilized. So, I mean, another argument in his argument is basically the old slavery argument that, yeah, well, we did the black Africans a huge favor by, you know, enslaving them. We took them out of their stupid, horrible jungle, their ignorance, and we gave them civilization. We gave them a nice suit to wear and you know, gave them a life as a more elegant beast, even though it was a slave. But a pile of crap. Even if it were true that it would be better to pull people out of some native horror they might be existing in, to do it for your own exploitive selfishness is crap. It's bullshit. It's uncivilized. It's just that simple. We wouldn't treat animals. We don't. Many people, at least, wouldn't treat animals that way. They don't have the expectation that they just use them up for their own purpose. Whether it's the animal's better off than would be in the wild running away from wolves doesn't make any difference. What your intent is what matters, and the end result is there's prices too high, and I think the price is too high when we start paying people a nickel a day. I mean, that's bullshit. If you respect work and you respect people who do work, then you should have the expectation they have to pay for it. And we've kind of learned to, you know, cheat. And we all accept the cheat because it's convenient to us personally. And if somebody points it out once in a while, I mean, it's not gonna kill you to hear it once in a while. But you know what? We really aren't playing the game fair. We're taking advantage of excess population, and we're exploiting it. And this also goes to another argument that can be made. It's like the starving people in some other country kind of argument. Yeah, well, if you give them food, they'll reproduce with that food, create more excess population, they'll become more dependent and more desperate. And it's the same kind of thing. If you give people bad jobs, okay, there's subsistence jobs that are enough for them to create some babies, then yeah, they'll perpetuate the slave population that you're exploiting. But the key word is exploitation. I mean, you can't, when you're just exploiting a circumstance, when you're just exploiting an excess number of people who are in need, you're an asshole. It's just that simple. It's nothing. It's not complex. It's simple. And it can be, there's no way around it. I mean, somebody has to collect the garbage. Somebody has to do the crappy jobs. And so even if you gave people incentives to all become highly educated to avoid that reality of menial labor, the fact is then you'd end up with a bunch of brain surgeons picking up your garbage. You can't escape the reality, and the reality is that some jobs have more value, but that more value has to be engineered. Doctors limit how many people can be doctors, basically. Many skilled professions do that. They obligate you to meet some sort of bizarre standard to acquire recognition for your skill level, and to be rewarded for it. And so it's not a guarantee. And so I'm not saying that people shouldn't try to acquire skills that will make them more valuable, and I'm not saying that's not a good thing to have built into an economy. But I don't think you have to engineer an economy that uses exploitation. I don't think there's any necessity to punish people for not doing it. You still have to respect their work. If somebody's working 8 hours a day, and especially if somebody's working in a lousy, rotten conditions, it's logically you would say they should be paid more, not less. And just because some people are starving, you're going to take advantage of them? You're going to allow them to lower their wage scale out of desperation and call that a great economic system? No, it's a dirty, stinking, lousy, rotten economic system. It's a disgrace to human intelligence. And so what you're preaching is just that. It's a boorish insult to humanity. To make excuses, rationalizations like this, to defend economic systems that have nothing to do with anything other than selfishness and greed, and no other higher ideal or ethic involved. Your system will not create a better world, and it's been proven not to create a better world. And even with the regulation that exists, it hasn't been enough regulation, obviously, because the whole thing's going to fall, the whole thing's going to crumble into dust. So whatever. I mean, it's a failure ethically, and it's a failure practically. So, enough said, fucker. All right, well, maybe it wasn't enough said. I did think of another example used was, like somehow you have to, we help out the paper boy, give him a job, give the kid a job. And, that doesn't work either, not unless it's really regulated. Because there aren't really paper boys anymore. I mean, as a practical matter, they've been, weeded out of the system by the economy of the automobile. But anyway, I was a paper boy as a kid, and I did for 5 years, and I ruined my back doing it. Probably that and the combination. I also got into the restaurant business at 15. And was lugging trays around all night, and that didn't do my back any good either. And so, for the rest of my life, I have chronic back problems, and created because there wasn't anybody watching out for the kid working jobs he probably shouldn't have been working, or in ways he shouldn't have been working them. And I don't want to be taking job opportunities away, but the bottom line is there's no efficiency in that. There's no efficiency in taking advantage of a kid and then imposing the liability of 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years of chronic back trouble. I mean, it's a stupid trade-off. It's an idiotic trade-off. And the only thing that stands between that trade-off being made and not being made is a civilizing government. And so if we're, that's it. So, the regulations, and you just keep talking, you keep yammering like there's some sort of oppressive force. No, they're the only thing that makes a society civilized. Idiots. Oh, there, a little extra.